Good morning, everyone. I'm Tabitha with Tabs on Tap. Happy Friday. I mean, aren't we all glad it's Friday? Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Always happy to be here. Happy to provide you guys with as much information as I possibly can. I can't believe today is already episode 21. Episode 21. Boy, the days are going by quickly, but it seems like it's so many more than 21, quite honestly. It really does. But I'm so happy to be here. So happy it's Friday. I'm probably just like the rest of you. I am so happy that it's Friday. And happy birthday to my mother, Sheila. She's off working this morning, but it is her birthday today. I will not reveal her age. We don't want to do that, but happy birthday to all of the August birthdays. Good morning, Jay. Good morning, everyone. There's a lot I want to talk about today. Hopefully, I won't be distracted. Good morning, Allison. I don't know what's going on, but I keep hearing people yelling like outside of my house, and I've looked out the window and I don't see anyone. So I really have no idea what in the world is going on. Um, I have no idea. It must be something down the road because it's not going on here. So if I seem distracted or if I have to peek away for a second to look, I will figure it out. Very odd. Good morning, Dottie. And it is definitely a Friday. I feel like it's a Friday. There's so much to talk about today. I want to remind everyone we do have a text line. It is 314-546-2677. Eventually, I'll be able to remember that. If anybody wants to send in a text message to me, let me know. Eventually, we'll be taking phone calls on that line for people who don't want to link up by video. Any of you are always welcome to join me. If you ever feel like there's something you want to talk about, or something you want to cover on the show, some important news item or something going on in your life, I would be more than happy to have you on. That's what the show's about. We're very relaxed, and I'm certainly happy to hear from everyone. So send me a text. Let me know what you want to talk about. If you want to come on, if you want to call, always happy to have you. Good morning, Bill and Sherry. I have a lot to talk about today. As always, the news never fails, and you guys might be surprised, but at the end of every show, there's always a whole page of things I never even get to because there's just so much, so much. And I try to talk about things that I think are most important by priority, in my opinion. Yesterday, we talked a lot about America, didn't we? And all of the issues we have here as a country. I think a lot of you probably feel like I do. I love my country. I feel like a very patriotic American. And I know I have this Trump background that's more laziness and procrastination than anything, because the show is not just for Trump supporters. It's really not. I know a lot of people who are great conservatives who just simply don't support Trump. And that's okay. I just haven't had time to switch it out, because once I'm done with the show, I am off to do a bazillion other things, and I'm not back here behind this desk until the next morning, and usually pushing it by the moment. Quite honestly, I was just adjusting my camera like 2 seconds before because I tripped over it last night when I was leaving. Good morning, Karen. And Jay says, I'd consider it, but I have a voice made for silent movies. I know that's not true, Jay. I know that's not true. Anyone is welcome to join me. I'll send you a video link at any time for the show. Please, all you got to do is text me at 314-546-2677. And I don't always come across every news story. So if there's something that's on your mind, something you want to talk about, always let me know. Some of the things I'm going to talk about today, like I said yesterday, do you guys remember I played that video by Tulsi Gabbard where she talked about the deep state and who is really controlling the country? If you guys missed that, make sure you go back to yesterday's show and take a look at that, because I thought it was very revealing that we actually have someone very important in our government who came out and said that, guess what, the president, they're not running the show. It's the deep state. Who is the deep state? So I thought that was really interesting. Today, I want to do a little bit more unraveling, with America, because even though we love our country, we know it's not perfect, is it? We know that we've been heading in the wrong direction for quite some time. We're trying to change it. We're doing our best. We're doing, everything we possibly can do to make a change. So one of the things I want to talk about today, frankenfood. I think you all know what frankenfood is, don't you? Our food's not real. When you go to the grocery store, not real. I want to talk about pharma, big pharma, another big propaganda scheme in our country, the climate change hoax. So we're going to do a deep dive on those things. and talk a little bit about monkeypox because it is allegedly spreading across the world. We're going to do some Middle East catch up with what's going on over there. Allison says, Tabs, what do you know about Toby Shane Kessler, wanted in connection with the burglary at Trump's campaign headquarters in Asburn, Virginia, August 11th? He has a long list of past crimes. Yeah, Allison, I talked about that the other day, and I don't really know anything about him, quite honestly, and I haven't looked into it any further. I have a video, photos showing him breaking into the headquarters, and he did remove some items. And I don't really know anything further than that. I don't know that there would be a lot to gain from him breaking into the campaign office, but he could potentially, like I said the other day, gain passwords or something else. Obviously he broke in for a reason. He's probably just an idiot. Who knows? Jay says the only good thing about the something video, it was exposed shenanigans and how complacent we have become. We sure have. Margie, I watched the 2016 debate. Tulsi was the only one that would have any chance of me considering. I agree. Joe says, are you on Rumble yet? Not yet, Joe. I plan to be, but I'm kind of taking things one step at a time. I'm just finally getting hope. I'm still having minor technical issues. I'm trying to get everything together before I make that jump because going on to Rumble is completely different. When I go into the show and connect to Facebook or X or YouTube, it's automatic. There's nothing I need to do. It's programmed in. It uses the same stream key every single day. Rumble is a little bit different. I wish they would fix that, but you have to go in, you have to loop a video, and then you have to enter in a new stream key every single day. And right now, quite honestly, I don't have time. You'd be surprised. I have like the minutes I'm on here and then I'm off to do something else. So, did you guys hear about Thomas Crooks? Obviously, the shooter from the Trump rally in Pennsylvania. Well, did you hear that his body, the feds cremated his body before anyone had an opportunity to look at it? The medical examiner didn't even know his body was gone. And so we're going to talk about that. I think that's anytime you hear that somebody was cremated before people really had to get a good look at it, you really got to start wondering what exactly is taking place. Secret Service, man, they failed again at Trump's North Carolina rally. I'm not sure if you guys heard about that. We're definitely going to talk about that because, I mean, why can't they get their act together? And I'm sorry, I love women working in security. I really do. But it just seems like we were having a lot of failures with the females in the Secret Service. And man, I don't know why, but it's happening. Ladies, you guys need to get your act together because you are representing the rest of us. I want to talk about a study that South Korea did. They tested products. A lot of people buy products from Temu, Alibaba. I call it Shine, but I think the technical term is Sheen. So I'm going to talk about that study because that's really crazy. It would talk about illegals voting and give some Harris Trump updates, so much to talk about. And at the end of the show, what I also want to talk about is I have some of my own eggs here. Look at this. So I'm going to talk about a little bit about homesteading, chickens, eggs, things you can do because we are going to be talking about frankenfood. I've got my new vanilla beans, so I'm going to go over again how you make your own vanilla. Because guess what? When the world gets crazy, there are things you can do. You can start planning right now to have some products you could potentially sell then. Eggs, it doesn't matter. Depending on where you live, you may not be allowed to have chickens, and some areas don't allow roosters for sure. Some areas allow a certain number of chickens, but most places you can at least have some backyard chickens. So when you think about it, and I'll get into this later, you can potentially sell eggs, you can sell chicks. There's a lot of different things you can do. Vanilla. You can see this bottle here. I'm getting ready to make 3 times this amount. And this, of course, when it's ready, will be divided down into 1, 2, 3 ounce bottles. And then you can sell this because I don't need all this vanilla for myself. This will last me the rest of my life right here. Well, maybe not because I do a lot of baking, but it will last most people the rest of their lives. So that's something I want to talk is we really need to start talking about things you can do at your own home to become more self-sufficient because I think that's what it all is about. Allison says she's been canning nonstop. Allison, I wish I could say the same thing. I intended to be canning nonstop. I really did. As a matter of fact, I love green beans. I could eat green beans every single day. It's my favorite vegetable. And so I planted a ton of different types of green beans. I don't know what I did wrong, but my green bean plants are really tiny, and each one has like one green bean on it. So some of them have none, and so I ended up with about 6 green beans in my entire crop. So I'm replanting those, and because you can succession plant green beans and a lot of other crops. I really, if you guys know anybody, I really need to get someone on to talk to us about some gardening, just some 101 gardening basics for me in particular, but a lot of other people who are interested also because we've got to start thinking about being self-sufficient because every day the world is getting crazier. Dottie says, I threw away so many green beans. Well, Dottie, why did you do that? Send them to me. Genevieve, I harvested some wild mullein yesterday for winter. I would love to do that. I need to go out and look and see if I have any because I haven't seen any. Good morning, Ryan. So anyway, happy Friday. So much to talk about again. Happy birthday to my mother Sheila. Hopefully I'm not going to have one of those days where I can't talk. So monkeypox, I just have to talk about it because it's in the news. Crazy things are happening. We know that the WHO issued this public health emergency was that yesterday? We've been talking about monkeypox on this show really since I first started because we all knew it was coming, right? An election's coming. Of course, they're going to release the virus. They're claiming that this is a much more severe form of monkeypox, that it has a higher infection rate, a higher death rate. Typically, a higher infection rate and a higher death rate don't go together. So I'm a little suspicious about that. Allison says there is so much we can eat in our backyard. Absolutely so. Good morning, Dave. And so I have a video I'm going to play for Dr. Fauci because, we all know who Dr. Anthony Fauci is, right? Well, a long time ago, before COVID began, he certainly did believe in herd immunity. And do you remember when people had COVID? And even though they had an active case or they were recovering, they were still encouraged to go out and get the big V. Well, he didn't always feel that way. And to me, this is just one more way that shows the direction that our country is going in and when it comes to these health emergencies. And there's been a lot of bands, a lot of artists canceling tours. And someone brought it up to me in one of the text messages. They're like, is there something going on here? Do they know something? And we're going to talk about that in a moment because a lot of times a big tour operation, the government will reach out to them to let them know, hey, because tours are a multi-million dollar business. When Taylor Swift comes into town, I think I heard that whatever town she visits, they have about $3 million, and coming into their economy from one concert. And so therefore the government does let them know that something is coming, something's happening. So make sure you don't schedule your tours at these cities or make sure you don't tour at all because they don't want the impact of scheduling a tour, canceling it, all the money that's involved, all the economic loss. So I want to get into who is canceling tours, who has canceled tours, and maybe there's nothing to it. I don't know. You have to be the judge of that. But right now we have monkeypox cases. I mean, it is spreading allegedly. Who knows what the truth is? Pakistan, Turkey, Sweden, all reporting cases of this new form of monkeypox, clade. I think it's called clade 1B or something along those lines. And so, how seriously do we need to take this? I don't think any of us have anything to worry about from the virus itself. I really don't. However, I think we do have something worrying about to our government. What are they going to do about this? Right before an election, are they going to? We already know. We talked about it yesterday that they said the Democratic National Convention is a potential super spreader event for monkeypox. Are they going to cancel it? I mean, what better way to make sure that Harris has the nomination, right? Maybe it's going to go to a virtual convention. I'm not sure what's going to happen there. I have a hard time believing it's coming up in just a couple days, August 19th through the 22nd. I can't see them canceling it this far down the line, but who knows? So I wanted you guys to hear this little message from our beloved Dr. Fauci, because he has not always been the man that we know him to be, because there was a time when he really believed something different than what we are led to believe he thinks. Now, of course, me and my crazy system, he's in here. Where? I don't know, but he is. Let's see. Yeah, it's Friday. It's going to be one of those days. I don't know where he is. Maybe we won't be playing him. Maybe I deleted him. I don't know. I had him in here, now he's gone. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. Either way, again, it's gonna be one of those days apparently, because he was just there. I just saw him 2 seconds ago. Where he went, I do not know. But anyway, it was a video of Dr. Fauci talking about how at one point he said, so it was a situation where a reporter was asking him about a woman that had the flu, and he said, "Well, this, so and so has the flu. She's had it for 14 days. Does she still need to get a flu shot, a flu vaccine?" He's like, "Oh no, if she has active infection, no, she does not need it. We have herd immunity, and the best thing that could happen to her is that she has the flu. She's getting her herd immunity. She has natural immunity." But why didn't that happen with COVID? Why didn't anyone talk about natural immunity outside of doctors like people like Dr. Eric Deputy, or some of the more well-known doctors that came out and spoke, the frontline doctors? Why didn't they talk about it? And are we going to see the same thing with monkeypox? And I was reading a study about the monkeypox virus. They have T-pox. There's another one by another company, and we know the United States ordered over $100 million worth of TPOXX doses just recently, just a couple weeks ago. Canada ordered them a couple years ago when the last monkeypox virus scare came through. And so we really have to, and Jay says no money to be made off herd immunity. Isn't that the truth? Robert says the world through the globalist WHO of the UN using this monkeypox could, if they want, can collapse the world. No question about it. Carry out the legal depopulation forecast of 2025 and usher in global government. No doubt about it. But you know what, Robert? What happened is BRICS happened. BRICS has risen up, and BRICS will not be part of that. They pretty much put an end to any chance that the West has any type of globalist ideas. That's for sure. So I think globalism will stop here in the United States and Europe very quickly. Things are changing very drastically on that front. But I do wonder what's going to happen. Are they going to all of a sudden start saying, well, there's a national health emergency. We can't go to the polls. We're going to have to have mail in voting. We can't go to these conventions or rallies or debates. It really can interfere with a lot of things, as we know. I hope that doesn't happen. I really do. Allison says, get rid of the WHO. Get rid of the WHO. Get rid of the CDC. We don't need these organizations. We as humans survived perfectly fine without them, didn't we? I mean, they have just become another government organization that's based on how much money you pay them. In the pharmaceutical industry in general, do you know how much money the pharmaceutical industry pays cable television to air their ads? Now, this video I do have. I do. I don't know what happened to my Dr. Fauci video, unfortunately. I'll probably find it later when the show's over. But I want you guys to see this, because this really goes to talk about how big pharma is in our country and how much manipulation they have over the masses. And I don't watch television personally. I don't see these ads, but most people do watch television. Most people do have cable television. And I think it's very interesting that here in the United States, we are only one of two countries that allows big pharma to advertise, which is pretty wild to me. Jay says pharma is not about cures. They sure aren't. Ryan, did you see Biden's Project 25? Beat the hell out of them. I did not see Biden's Project 25. I know that they have their big 30-year agenda that they are definitely working on. Okay, I'm going to play this really quick, and then I want to know what you guys think about this.
home with your Wi-Fi settings still
Sorry,
switched on
guys.
on your cell phone.
Gonna be one of those days, like I told you. It's definitely gonna be one of those days, and I am so glad it's Friday.
So you know who the third
Pharma.
What's going
You should
on?
never ever leave
Do you know
home
what
I am
with your
percentage of
sorry.
every-
I have no idea what's going on with my crazy computer today. I really don't. I need a producer. Anybody want to be my producer? You guys can come in and operate this for me. Well, I just had the guy. It's like, I don't know what in the world is going on with my videos because it's like one video just replaced another video and I didn't replace it. It's like, who is in my system doing this? It's very odd that I went to play one video and this guy popped up and he is not the guy that I want. But you know what I can do is I can add the video. I think I know how to do that. It really makes me wonder if somebody has a way to get into my restream because it's kind of odd to me that Dr. Fauci disappeared, right? And then all of a sudden, this Wi-Fi guy pops up twice. It's like, where did he come from? Which makes no sense. So we're going to play the real pharma
The third
video.
one is that's keeping cable in business?
Pharma.
Pharma. Do you know what percentage of every dollar on sponsorship and ads cable TV gets from pharma? What percentage is from pharma? Percentage for every dollar, percentage. So think about movie commercials, car commercials, clothing commercials, all these different companies that do commercials, so many industries
Something
that do
ridiculous like 70%.
It's 75%. You're right. 75%. So check this out. Watch how crazy this is. Watch how crazy this is. Okay.
How is that even legal to do that?
Can you, while I'm doing this, just on your phone, Google what percentage of pharma cable advertisement? It's going to come up saying 75%. Now watch this. 75%, right? Stay with me here. So now we have to answer the question, is it moral to advertise getting more people taking drugs? Okay. What's wrong with that? It's their choice. They got to do it. No problem. So then why is it out of nearly 200 countries in the world, only 2 of them allow pharmaceutical companies to advertise on TV, and the other 198 don't? Who are the 2 countries? U.S. and New Zealand. Why? Wait. I don't know. You mean to tell me Germany doesn't allow? Nope. You mean to tell me China, Japan? Nope. Not even Venezuela? No.
Damn, that's
Canada?
crazy.
No. Only 2 countries. Yes. Why? I don't get it. Because they allow it. 75%.
Well, I don't know. I don't know why that ended what it did. There's something going on with my restream that I don't understand, and I'm going to go in and change my password. I really do think that somehow somebody's able to manipulate it because there's some things I can do wrong on my own and other things that I can't control that still goes wrong. Like the video didn't play. It only had a couple more seconds left, but I think that's really odd. And I was literally standing here and if you ever have a restream, scene or you can see your inside of your studio, you can see all your videos over there. And every morning, part of my everyday prep is I stand here before the show starts and I look at all my videos and I have them all queued up because you have to go in, you have to pause them, you have to make sure they're at the certain starting point where you want them, and then you name them so you can keep them all in order. And every morning I do this. I go through my checklist because I have everything written down and I make sure all my videos are there. I make sure I see them. I make sure they're in the right screen, the right format. And then just now, again, the Fauci video gone, not there. I went to play the pharma video and guess what? It somehow switched and was the Wi-Fi guy, which we're going to talk about later, and gone. And now after I just played it, it's gone again. It really does make me wonder what is going on because I'm going to get into this later, but the feds definitely do. They definitely do get involved, and I I'm just a podcaster. Nothing that's a big deal at all. A new podcaster at that. Obviously been in radio for a long time, but for some reason, stranger things do happen. The FBI has really been hot on the list rating people. We talked about them rating, Scott Ritter, who was a podcaster for former UN weapons inspector, raided his house. I think it was last week, the week before. And then I got another story for you guys in a little while about somebody else whose house was raided. And it's all the common denominator is they all talk about the Middle East and they all talk about Russia and they all talk about how the United States has been the bad guy, how the United States is sometimes the terrorist or the instigator. And it really does make you wonder how many people they really do listen to. I don't think they're worried about the little people like me coming on here with my little podcast talking. But the thing is how many people are they watching? Because we know the NSA, some guy from the NSA actually reached out to me probably, gosh, 5 years ago, started trolling me on Facebook, telling me about how I shouldn't be talking about this, I shouldn't be talking about that. And I was really shocked by it. I ended up blocking him on all my social media because everything I posted, stop talking about that. You shouldn't be talking about that, blah, blah. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? So you really just do not know. Good morning, Joe Adams from the Washington Guard. Man, Joe Adams knows how Big Brother is watching after after us, doesn't he? They don't want us to talk about all these things. As a matter of fact, I joked around yesterday. I'm like, man, I better make sure I clean the house really good and make sure everything is in its place before the FBI raids me. And I don't want my house to be a mess when the FBI comes out. I'm kidding, of course, but you know what? You never know. So anyway, we're talking about big pharma. Back to that. You know, why is it that we here in the United States that we allow big pharma to advertise on cable TV? Well, who's watching cable TV? People who are very impressionable, right? Some of them, elderly people, kids, people who, and it's more about subliminal, I think, advertising, because I know the couple times that I have the TV on, sometimes I'll have it on for background noise, but I'm not watching it or listening to it. But you're still hearing these things. It's still coming through to your head. You're absorbing things, even though you're not actively listening to it. As a matter of fact, a story for another day, but there are people who will, there are, sorry, I don't know how to turn that off. So you might have to hear my phone beep in the background. So anyway, there are people out there who will play audiobooks before they go to sleep at night. And even though you're asleep, it is alleged that some of that material still sinks in and it still becomes part of your knowledge base. And that's the same thing for things you hear on television. It all becomes part of your knowledge base. You may not consciously know you're hearing it, but it still absorbs. It's still somewhere there in your memory. And that way, when a doctor prescribes a medicine to you or to someone you're like, oh, okay, it's already familiar to you and you don't even know. And like somebody said earlier or yesterday, we have an entire pharma in our own backyards, don't we? Dandelion tea, mullein. There's so many different things you can. I go outside in my backyard and I will look around. I try to identify every weed, every plant. Now my front yard has pretty grass. The people who lived before me did that. The backyard's all fauna. I have clover and dandelions and all different kinds of wildflowers and things that people planted long before I came around. And it's kind of wild to go out and identify these things. And I have wild tomatoes even growing and wild corn. It's pretty wild. It is wild, literally. And so we don't need all of these medications because you know what all these pharmaceuticals are? A long time ago, we had Native Americans and, other folks who our ancient ancestors who came up with their own medications, right? Out of things they foraged. Well, eventually, Big Pharma, of course, synthesized all of these different natural remedies. So what you're getting right now, that's exactly what it is. It's a synthesized remedy that is really something you can find in natural form in your backyard. But, they don't want to hear about that, do they? And just like our food supply, like I said, at the end of the show, I'm going to be talking about chickens, eggs, making vanilla. I talk a lot about in the show about being more self-sufficient and having more natural items, things that you can talk about. And somebody in the comment like said, let's prescribe a medication with 27 side effects. It's just like this Mpox vaccine. I looked at the side effects and I'm like, oh my gosh, it causes potentially could cause a heart attack. It causes your troponin levels to go up. It is pretty wild, the different side effects of the Mpox vaccine. And they are going to be giving it to people who have had smallpox vaccine. Now, I happen to have been in that age group where I did not get the smallpox vaccine. It ended before I got to the grade level where they gave that or the age that they gave it. And so I did not get it. I don't have it. But it doesn't matter because if something happens with monkeypox and they think you need to be vaccinated, it doesn't matter because I read the leaflet myself. I read the study myself. And it clearly states that even if you've had the smallpox vaccine when you were younger, you would still get a TPOX vaccine. So don't think that that will eliminate you because according to their plan, it will not. So that's something to think about with big pharma. You, everything in this country, what is it about? Oil, gold, right? Natural gas, natural minerals, in pharma medications. We talked yesterday about how Congress are a lot of them are receiving $125,000 kickbacks per person for being pro-Israel. Not just because they already are pro-Israel, but because they publicly say it and vote for policies that are pro-Israel. Our government is a mess, and it's all ran by money, isn't it? We're just the worker bees. It's all about the people who are powerful. And I know a lot of wealthy people. You probably know a lot of wealthy people. I know some people who are very seriously wealthy. But even those people are not part of this elite group. They are not. We're talking about multi-billionaires who are running this country. It's insane, and what they're trying to do to us, it really worries me, or I wouldn't talk about it so much. Same with food. Look what's happening to our food supply. Right here, I have two of my little peppers. I for some reason, another gardening dilemma we're going to have to talk about someday. My little green peppers are so tiny. You can see I have a little yellow pepper here, a little purple pepper. And I did plant some mini peppers, but I never had any pepper grow any bigger than this. So I'm not really sure what I did wrong, but you know what? I'm trying, right? I'm trying. You're trying. I have my eggs, which we're going to talk about. I'm trying, and you have to try too. A video that I came across. Now, this is not new. It's not new. And so this has been a concern for a long time, and it better be here. I see it. And Woody Harrelson, Woody Harrelson has proclaimed that he retired from acting. So we don't see him in a lot of different movies anymore. He was just in something recently. I don't recall what, because I see so many movies through my work. They all blend together. But he was in something recently, and it was good, whatever it was. But anyway, I have something for him. He's talking about literally frankenfood and other things our country is doing to us. This isn't happening in other countries. This is happening here in the United States. We've talked before about our infrastructure and our grocery stores and what a grocery store looks like, let's say in Europe even, or in Ukraine. Ukraine has better grocery stores than we do. They have better food selections than we do. They have better healthy food than we do, and we call them a third world country, which is crazy. Dottie says chicken manure is an excellent fertilizer. You know what? You're right, Dottie. And if I had time to go out there and grab some, I'd probably have a much better garden. So let's see. I'm going to play this video for you guys because this is what Woody Harrelson had to say. This is not new, but it's still very important message.
Fast foods that have no actual gallons of poisonous household cleaners when one degradable soft soap will do. We are poisoning our homes and wasting our hard-earned money for no good reason. Why? Because the advertising industry tells us to. They just want you to buy stuff. For example, if a company pollutes the environment or uses bad business practices, if you don't buy their stuff, they will change. If you don't want food with chemicals or GMOs in it, then don't buy it. The minute we start taking responsibility and spending our money wisely, every politician, every corporation, and leader around the world is going to know that we have woken up. This is the 21st century. If we use our resources wisely, there is no reason why anyone shouldn't have what they need. There's no reason whatsoever why people are still starving to death on our planet. And the common man or woman, whether they are Israeli or Palestinian, Protestant or Catholic or Iraqi or American, the common man just wants to live in peace and justice in a clean environment. When we look around the world and we see that that is not the case, we know that the will of the majority is not being listened to. That's the first sign that our system is broken. Government won't make these changes for us. Yet again, it is down to the common man. No company will continue a practice or a product that you, the consumer, will not buy. It's vitally important that you understand this because this gives you ultimate power to change the world you live in. Companies are extremely sensitive about you buying their products because if you don't buy their stuff, they go out of business. That's not something any company is willing to consider. And by choosing to spend your money wisely, you can promote those companies that do business in a socially responsible.
Old video, you can see how wonderful Woody Harrelson looks a lot, very young there, but very, very relevant, isn't it? What are they doing to us? What are they putting in our food? What kind of medications are they giving us? Because that's the answer to everything, isn't it? If you don't feel well, oh, go take a Tylenol. You can't sleep at night. Oh, here, take some sleeping pills. It's the answer to everything, and what it's doing is it's making the majority of people. It may not be killing people, but go out and talk to people talk to your family members, talk to people in your community. People have a lot of illness and disease. They're alive, most of them, a lot of illness and a lot of disease. And we're doing it to ourselves. Robert said, great message from Woody. Yes, that was a fantastic message. Allison, look at the label. Most processed foods is partially made from bioengineering. Yes, it does. And Jay says you could do a whole week on Monsanto and how they rule farmers with an iron fist. Absolutely. Do you know, speaking of farmers right now make up 2% of our population here in the United States? 2%, that's it, just 2%. And we know what the government's trying to do to our farmers, right? They're trying to take their lands. We saw it with Hillary Clinton back in the day and the ranchers. Remember when she was Secretary of State with the Bureau of Land Management, and they did that to mine the land. There was no question about it. If you go back and look at any of those ranches that were taken over, they've turned to mines. Now they're mining them for minerals. There's so much going on in this country, but we have to start paying attention to what we're putting into our bodies, whether that's medication, whether it's food, whether it's something you drink. I know I talked yesterday how I like iced coffees, but I'll tell you what, those little coffee pods, which I use fairly often, I would really like to see a study done on what's in those things, because for whatever reason, when I use those coffee pods, I feel so sick. And I really think so many of us feel sick sometimes, tired, worn out. Some people get depressed. And I really do think that it is a lot to do with what we are consuming between medications and food. And, I know someone who, when they travel, and I only know this because I traveled with them one time, they had a bag of medication. I kid you not, at least 27 different pills they take every day. And I'm like, why are you taking all of this medication? What are all of these things for? Antidepressant. One of them was for stomach acid. One was to help them sleep. They needed to help to sleep because they're taking all this medication and they can't sleep. It's like, what in the world are we doing to our bodies? Robert says that the 2% of farmers include Cargill and the corporate agricultural business. Yeah, I would certainly think so, which means that our local farmers are even less than the 2%, even less. And you really have to start buying local. What's happening in our society is our own fault, isn't it? Because it's so much easier to go on Amazon. It's so much easier to go to Walmart or one of these other grocery stores. And Allison says our food does not need dyes added. No, I would much rather have food that is clean and clear. It doesn't have to be a pretty color. It's okay if it's ugly. I would rather buy vegetables that have imperfections than go to the grocery store and see a table of green peppers where every one of them looks exactly the same, no blemishes, completely perfect. Or tomatoes. God forbid you get a tomato at the grocery store. How can anyone say that's real food? If you've eaten a tomato, homegrown in your own garden or from a farmer, and then you buy a tomato at the grocery store, how can you say that's real food? It's not. It doesn't even taste like food. I guarantee you the food that you grow in a garden or that you buy from a farmer, that's what real food tastes like. And it's so sad to think that there are so many people, here in our country that have no idea what real food tastes like. They have absolutely no idea. Cantaloupes. I went through most of my life hating cantaloupes, hating them. My parents would buy cantaloupes at the grocery store, and I just thought they were awful. And then just a couple years ago, I found a cantaloupe at a farmer's market, and I really bought it for a family member because I know they like cantaloupe. And I tried a piece of it, and I was so surprised that I never knew what a real cantaloupe tasted like. And so I like real cantaloupes. I cannot stand cantaloupes from a grocery store. We have to start waking up, and we have to start giving people options. I would love to have somebody from a farmer's market come on, or a farmer themselves. I am very lucky. I live in a rural area, so I don't have to go very far to find Amish fruits or vegetables. I am planting my own orchard. I already have 3 trees. You guys may have seen when I had the show about showing my Asian pear, which was really one of the best pears I've ever had, by the way. I have chickens. We're going to be talking about chicken eggs at some point before we go, or maybe now. Well, why not? We're already talking about it. But I have 6 chickens. I had 7. Fox got 1. But I did want to show you guys. I have 3 different sizes of eggs. See this? I have small, I have medium, and then I have large. And my large eggs, it's hard to tell, but they are really big. And there is nothing like having your own homegrown chicken eggs. I took these out of the coop yesterday. So 3 different size eggs there for 3 different size chickens. And a fresh egg that you go out and get from your own chicken coop, chickens that have no medication, that have no antibiotics, nor hormones, it is a completely different thing. The eggs look different. They taste different, completely different. And I'll tell you what, I don't know about everyone's eggs, but my eggs have great big huge yolks. Even this little tiny egg from my little Cochins has a great big huge yolk inside of it. It's pretty wild to me, very deep color. And you can see that these are healthy, that this is healthy food. This is real food. It's real food. Vanilla. I'm going to talk to you guys later about how to make your own vanilla, because I just got my vanilla beans in the mail. So I'm going to give you guys a little vanilla bean recipe before we leave today. Probably the last thing I do, as long as we don't run out of time. Because you know what? This is something that it's not just about growing your own food and becoming healthier. It's also about selling, about making sure your own community has what you have. And vanilla is one of those things it's not super low cost. But you know what? In this vanilla, this is pure. I made this about 6 months ago. There's no chemicals in here. There's no chemicals. This is vanilla beans and alcohol. That's it. Nothing else. And you can, if you really wanted to, and you wanted to do something like this at home, we're going to talk about that later, but you can make your own vanilla, and you can use it for your own baking, or you'll never need that much. You can divide it up into little jars and you can sell it. So, Allison says we get double yolk sometimes. I've never had a double yolk, but yes, Allison, your own home eggs are definitely the best. And I think one of the best things you can do, don't buy chickens to save money on eggs, because it is far more expensive to have and maintain chickens than it is to go to the grocery store and buy eggs. I have spent a fortune on chickens, no question about it. But I have healthy eggs, and if worse comes to worse, God forbid, I have eggs I can sell. I could have chicks I could sell. There are certainly alternatives. And if you have chickens that are producing eggs, it's literally free food. It really is, because they can free range in your grass, or even if you just have a small plot of grass, they can free range. You can give them some feed. There's different things you can do fairly inexpensively once you get your initial setup, and you're always going to have eggs. If the grocery stores close, if the world collapses, you have fresh eggs, right? And fresh chicken. So we have that as well. So anyway, I don't want to go off on a tangent on that quite yet, but something to think about, because the world is a crazy, crazy place. And I don't know what's going on with monkeypox. I don't know what's taking place with our government, what they're trying to do to us. I think that we need to become more self-sufficient as we go. But I do wonder, is there something more going on than we know? We know about what's going on in the Middle East, right? And I'm going to give a little bit of update. Not a whole lot going on right now. Things are still really quiet. Doesn't mean that something's not going to happen. I think something is imminent in one direction or the other. Of course, propagated by our own governments, but something is definitely imminent. But something I want to talk about, Margie says, are your chickens reproducing into more chickens? I don't have a rooster, so mine are not really doing a whole lot of anything other than laying eggs. But I have 6 chickens, and I usually get 6 eggs every single day. So chickens are good producers. If you treat them right, you have them in a good home, they are great producers. So I wanted to talk about this, because somebody sent this message to me, and I appreciate it. Anytime any of you guys said something to me, always happy to talk about it. But I wanted to kind of read over this list. A lot of people, a lot of artists have been canceling tours. Do they know something that we don't know? Because as I said earlier, when let's say again, I'll use Taylor Swift as an example because she is like an economy of her own, isn't she? She is an economy of her own. So she visits a city. Let's say she comes to St. Louis. Well, St. Louis City could generate probably about $3 million in revenue from her tour because all of these people that come from all over the country, sometimes all over the world, come here, they spend money, right? And not to mention all the people that she hires, all of the, crew members and so on, the venue fees and everything else that she has to pay to come to town. So think about that. And a lot of times what happens is our government will let these people, these tours, know ahead of time so that they don't end up coming here, hiring a bunch of people, losing a lot of money. The city in the end, the city will lose a lot of money when a tour is canceled at the last minute. There's a lot that goes into it. So they often do let these people know, hey, something's probably going to happen. You need to cancel your tour. Now, some of these I'm not sure about. Some of these people I've never heard of, but these are, bands all across the world. But there are a lot of suspicious cancellations recently. And I'm going to go through these names. Some of these people, I have no idea who they are. And they have posted either they have canceled their tours or postponed their tours. So we have Usher. Usher has postponed his tour. Rod Stewart postponed his tour. OMD, no clue who they are. They postponed. Aerosmith. Now, Aerosmith, they didn't postpone. Aerosmith canceled their tour, but that is because they said Steven Tyler no longer has a voice. Is that true? Probably. Fugees postponed. Sneaky Puppy, no clue who that is. They postponed. The Single Mothers, no clue who they are. They postponed. Heart, I love Heart. They postponed all remaining tours. Chief Keef, no idea who that is, postpones all remaining tours. Bruce Hornsby and the Noisemakers, they have canceled their tour. Benson Boone, no idea who that is. They have postponed. Ann Wilson canceled their tour. Neil Young and Crazy Horse, they have postponed all remaining tour dates. Marcel and the Plague. Oh, no, the Prey. Oh, my goodness. Marcel and the Prague. They postponed their tour. No idea who they are. Eliza and the Delusionals postponed. Queen of the Stone Age postponed. Fletcher postponed. Missy Elliott canceled. So I don't know who a lot of these people are, but here's the situation. Now, do you know who boxer Ryan Garcia is? I'm not really sure who he is, but anyway, he has spoken out and he said that when you have a big operation going on, the government does reach out to you again and let you know, hey, well, you might want to consider postponing or canceling tours because there's going to be a pandemic or there's going to be a war or something is in the works where you're not going to be able to come to these cities. So cancel it now before we lose a lot of revenue, before people lose a lot of jobs and other things are going on. I'm going to let you make up your own mind about what's going on there. Maybe it's something, maybe it's nothing. I really do not know. Pam says touring groups are having problems finding buses to tour. Pam, do you know why that is? I don't know anything about a bus shortage, but nothing surprises me these days. So I don't know. Think about that however you want to think about it. Lori says Ann Wilson Hart has cancer. The rest, which is a lot, I have no clue. Well, and I know Aerosmith, again, Steven Tyler said that his voice just isn't what it was and he can't continue on. So as of right now, I'm not putting a lot of thought into why these people canceled. It's probably nothing, but somebody brought it up. And you know what? If you tell me and you want to talk about it, I'm going to talk about it. Nancy says riots due to election results. I fully expect riots to happen in this country. I absolutely do. I'm sure you do too. And it doesn't matter who wins. If Harris wins, there's going to be riots. If Trump wins, there's going to be riots. It's going to happen one way or the other. Is that why they're canceling tours? I don't know. Maybe it's part of this ridiculous, I keep saying the world is on fire because the world is literally on fire. I don't know if you guys have been watching this, but man, migrants are, I wasn't planning on talking about this right now, but I'm just going to throw it in there because it could be why some of these tours were canceled. I don't know why, but you're not hearing this on the national news. I don't understand it. MSM is not really deep diving into any of this or even mentioning it in some cases. The UK is at a flat out civil war. And if you go onto my Telegram channel, I post a lot of information and videos there. There's a lot of violence that's taking place in the world right now. And I'm not going to show those videos to you here, but you can see them on my Telegram page. And it's crazy. And it could be that they're canceling tours for that reason. I know for a fact that in Finland, I saw some videos from a school, it looked like maybe a high school, middle school, where the migrants were fighting, some of the citizens back and forth. I don't know who started the fight. Uh, Finland's having a lot of violent things going on in their country right now between migrants and civilians. The UK, man, the UK is a mess. I saw a video the other day where the migrants had these female police officers up against a fence, dancing on them, twerking on them, taking their police vests off, and there's nothing these police officers can do. They don't even have weapons. There's nothing they can do. I saw in Spain a bouncer to a bar. They lynched this guy. Big guy too. He's probably over 6 foot tall. I was actually surprised that they were able to get control of him, but it was a mob of migrants that grabbed this guy and kicked him and punched him and had him on the ground. They lynched him. They were throwing these big table stands at him, and he was completely unconscious. I'm not sure if he was alive or not. It's happening in all these different countries. Bangladesh, they're going around, they're lynching the Hindus and the Buddhists and the Christians, burning their businesses down, going door to door like the Taliban to their homes. Again, it's happening Finland, Spain, the UK, Venezuela, Africa. There's all of these different countries that everything is just completely out of control. And is that going to happen here? I would really like to know. Allison says, Jamie Raskin said if Trump wins, they will nullify the election and there will be a civil war. Trump will not win. Allison, that's just my opinion. Just my opinion that Trump will not win. They will never allow him to win. The only reason, and I'm probably going to get deleted for saying this, the only reason why he won in 2016 is because they didn't cheat hard enough. I don't think they really expected the people to come out and vote in the numbers that they did. They did not expect it. And we have to do that again. It might be the only chance we have. And now they've learned, haven't they? I'm going to get into the Harris campaign again here in a few moments, but they have learned. And that's exactly why the Harris campaign is doing what they're doing. They're lying to Democrats. They're not lying to us because we're all smarter, we know better. They're lying to Democrats. They're claiming Trump's policies. They're telling people they're going to lower food costs and that they're going to they want this one, of course, national healthcare system, free healthcare for everybody, free college for everybody. But they're going to lower taxes and lower food prices. The economy is going to be better. We're going to pay cheaper gas prices. They're not going to touch Social Security or the retirement age. I mean, they're just touting Trump's policies, but we all know better. We all know better. Pam says, I feel the same way. I will be shocked if they let Trump back in office again. Man, he got his foot in the door, and that should have been a key for us to get that door open a little bit further. We didn't do it. They wouldn't allow us to do it. Alyssa says, Kabama Harris will win. Man, did you guys see Trump's video when he was talking about food prices? I mean, don't we already know what a Harris Biden administration is going to do to the cost of literally everything? And it's pretty crazy. And I've got more figures on this, but I want you guys to take a look at this.
This is the cost of food. Every single thing is up. Eggs up 48%, cookies up 27%. Look at what's going on. Butter up 31%. And this is just the beginning.
It is a disaster. It is a disaster. And I've got some of the numbers that Trump posted because everything is up so high. Look at this. Butter, margarine up 38.9%, flour 37.5%, cooking oil 38.3%, cookies 27.3%, white bread 24.2%, cereal 23.4%, 5%. Bacon and sausage is up 19.5%. Lunch meat, 23.2%. Eggs, 46.8%. Children's food, baby formula, 30.1%. Elementary school lunches are up 65.5%. Apple juice, 23.2%. I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? We know we're paying more. We know. Now they've had 4 years to lower the cost of food, 4 years to lower the price of gas. And are they? No. Do they care? Absolutely not. They don't care. They're not going to do anything about it. It makes no difference to them. They don't care that you can't afford it. They can. Isn't that really all that matters? They can afford it. Congress can afford it. And I would really like to know, where is your local congressperson? Why aren't they out doing something about this? Why aren't they attempting to lower prices of food or even talking about it? Do you know of any congressperson who's actually talking about the price of food, outside of maybe somebody from the Freedom Caucus? And I don't even really hear them talking about it. No one's talking about it. It is absolutely, it is absolutely ridiculous. And here we have Simone Biles. I'm sure you guys saw this. Gymnast Simone Biles, $4 million to the Harris campaign. What in the world is wrong with her? $4 million. She's supposed to make an official announcement, I think today or tomorrow. Maybe she did it yesterday and I missed it because I really don't care. And 1 million, she said, for each of her 4 medals she's donating to the Harris campaign. And that's a whole nother thing. How in the world does Simone Biles have $4 million to just give away? I mean, seriously, does she really have that much money in, I guess, sponsorships and so on? That's insane. Jim says, those who control the food control the people. You got that right. They will do price control for everything, which will make things harder to get. Yes, be prepared now. Be prepared now. Robert, yes, prices are up, but in manufacturing, having to compete with foreign manufacturers, we are being beaten into submission with demands of 10 to 40% price reductions. The world is crazy. No question about it. And it's going to get worse. If we end up in a war, situation, it's going to get far worse, because we're going to have product shortages, just like we did at one point during the big COVID pandemic, right? Have you noticed, though, if you do watch news or anything like that? I read the news, I don't watch it, but man, people are waking up. Yesterday, I played a video for you guys for CNN, and it was a CNN anchor talking to a Democrat from the press pool who works, a CNN correspondent who's part of the Harris press pool. And we already know from Peter Ducey, a video I played a couple days ago, that Harris has evaded the press pool. She did that interview or speech at Howard University. Well, she didn't take her press pool with her, which is highly unusual. I mean, very, very unusual. I'm not even sure if it's ever been done, but she didn't take them. And of course, that upsets them. Even Democrat journalists are going to be upset about that because it's their job to report on what's going on. That's why they're part of the press pool. They work very hard to become part of that press pool. And in this interview, you could tell very clearly that this male journalist, part of the press pool, was very upset that Harris has not given a press conference yet. Why? Why is she not giving press conferences to this day? She has still not given a press conference. She has still not talked about a press conference. I don't know if it's going to happen. Are we going to have debates? I mean, how's she going to debate? We could talk about that every day. I don't see how this woman is going to be able to debate anyone. I don't even think she could debate her sock, quite honestly. So that, another thing, the national debt right now, 35 trillion. 35 trillion. Isn't that crazy? How can she talk about saving America's money, doing anything for us that's going to help us when the national debt is $35 trillion? Jim says, the Democrats are trying to hide her the same way they did Biden. No question about it. Robert, yes, war. Scared it will be civil. God help us, man. I'm with you, Robert. We need the help because I really do think we will have a civil war in this country. And the reason why I say that is because it's been building up for so long. And I'm not advocating for a civil war. That's the last thing I want. I would rather go about my business and work and barbecue out in the backyard and, fish and do the things that I normally do. I don't want a civil war. I don't want anyone in my family to be injured or any of you and your families to be injured. but it's been building up to that. People have had enough on both sides. On both sides. I'm gonna play a video for you in a minute because I'm playing it because it shocked me how there's one man in there and what he said just blew my mind. So we're gonna talk about that. Pam says, I already read that. They are pulling the same play they did with Biden. He hid in the basement and fake won. She will not talk to the press and fake win. That's what it's all about. Remember how I just said a few minutes ago in 2016, the only reason why Trump won was because they didn't cheat hard enough. They didn't expect us to come out in droves, and how they've learned their lesson. Well, they have learned their lesson, and they've learned their lesson a lot with Zelensky as well. That puppet over in the Ukraine who is definitely taking us down. Well, they've learned by him. He's never given a press conference ever, never, never. He jails his opponents. He has his own little FBI-like force, and they raid the homes of his opponents and they jail them. I mean, we're not that far from that here. It's happening. We're having a lot of FBI raids right now on people who oppose a Harris-Walz regime. No question about that. And, where do we go from here? I don't see how we win. I really don't, because they have learned their lesson, right? They're going to pull every little string they have to make sure that Trump never gets his foot in the door again. No question about it. And it has just been building up and building up and building up. And people are angry and upset. And when people like a lot of conservatives, when people feel like they have no options, like they're going to lose their business, they're going to lose their job, they could potentially, lose their home. People are desperate. And when people are desperate, they do desperate things. And so I think people have had enough. Margie says Bush had hundreds of billions. Obama hit the trillions. Of course they do. Because when you come into public service, isn't that what happens? I think Donald Trump is probably the only president who actually lost money as president of the United States, because the rest of them play the game, right? He does not play the game. They cannot control him. He is not taking bribes or kickbacks. He didn't even take his presidential salary, right? But in the meantime, it's like, what do they think is going to happen? And they're already laying it out. That's what all this is. It's propaganda. Just like I said with Ukraine, everything with the Ukraine war is propaganda. Everything with this election is propaganda. They're using AI to populate rallies, so it looks like the rallies are full to the rafters. I mean, those people have 3 eyes, 3 arms, shrunken heads. It's not real. It's fake. It's all theater. And we have people online, which we know because people have come forward and said that are being paid to follow the Harris pages. They're being paid to post social media and say that they sponsor her. And a lot of these people who've come out and endorsed Harris and Walz, I've heard that they've been paid as well. Thousands of dollars. I heard some of them have been paid as much as $50,000 to publicly announce that they have endorsed Harris. It's all a big theater. It's all propaganda. But you know what? Real people, that's not how real people feel. And so I've got a couple videos here to show you guys. One of them, it's a little slow going at first, but there's a guy who is going around in some stores, and you may have seen this already, I'm not sure, but he's just randomly going around asking people, Harris or Trump, Harris or Trump. Overwhelmingly Trump. But then there's one guy he comes to, and this goes to show what the world thinks. I mean, this is really crazy what this guy uncovered. I mean, people hate us. You got to watch this.
Trump or Kamala for president?
Trump.
Trump or Kamala?
Who?
Trump or Kamala?
Oh, not Kamala.
Excuse me, sir. Trump or Kamala?
Trump.
Trump or Kamala?
Huh?
Trump or Kamala?
Oh, Trump for sure.
Trump or Kamala?
Trump.
Trump or Kamala?
Trump.
Trump or Kamala?
How about if you stop doing that, please?
Trump or Kamala?
Trump.
Trump or Kamala for president?
Trump.
Not a single person said Kamala yet. Trump or Kamala?
What are you talking about?
For president, Trump or Kamala?
Kamala. Fuck Trump.
You were the first person to say Kamala.
Right.
I don't really like her.
Well, I don't care.
What would you say to
Trump? Trump's an asshole. He belongs in jail.
What would you say to Trump if he was here right now?
I would shoot him.
Trump or Kamala, guys.
So what do you guys think about that? I stopped it there. And of course, this video is subjective. We don't know this guy. He could have edited and edited out people who said Harris. But what do you think about this guy he comes across? That's an employee. I think it's like a Home Depot or a Lowe's or somewhere. And this guy, I mean, he's so filled with hate. And he hates Trump. And he said he looked right at the camera and he said, I would shoot him. I mean, I wouldn't shoot Harris. I would have no desire to do that, or Biden or Obama or anyone else. I feel no violence towards them. And I don't think any of you do either. But this guy hates Trump so much that he says he would shoot him. So let's just say Trump would win. These people like him, he's one of many. These people, man, they are kind of going to come after us if something like that happens. Robert says, concern, paying attention to what is going on in the UK regarding social media posts and freedom of speech. Many are being jailed for speaking their minds, such as, who the hell is Allah? You know, Robert, I have talked about that. You may not have been here, but I talked about that several different days, and I played some videos, and people are getting, you know, sentences of up to 2 and 3 years for making social media posts. We've talked about that quite a few times. And what's even interesting about that is I posted that on my own Facebook page, and Facebook reprimanded me yesterday in Spanish, of all things. And they showed me a Spanish fact check, which I couldn't read because I don't read or speak Spanish, unfortunately. And I really have no idea what they were talking about. But they were basically telling me that I was spreading fake news by talking about what's going on in the UK and these people getting jail sentences. And Robert, to your point, they have gone so far as saying that they will arrest Americans on terrorism charges if we talk on social media about what's happening in the UK. That is a true thing. You can go online and look it up. I speak the truth. And they were mainly talking also about Elon Musk and how he is an enemy of the state. He is a terrorist, and how they want to charge him internationally with terrorism because he uses his platform X for disinformation, because the truth to them is disinformation. And like I said earlier, Robert, they are having a civil war going on in the UK right now. Now, our situation, I think, be a little bit different. I don't think we're going to have a civil war, us against illegals. I don't see that happening. And I hope it doesn't happen with us against each other. I really wish that we would unite with Democrats. And if there's going to be something going on, it being a revolution. Colonel Joe Adams talked to us one day about the difference between a revolution and a civil war. You know, I don't want a civil war. I don't want a revolution either. I'd rather Trump win and turn our country around and solve all of those problems. But it's not going to happen. And, you know, the Secret Service is not helping. Did you guys see that there was another Secret Service failure? And I kid you not, another Secret Service failure. Allison says they arrested J6ers for posting online. And, you know, Allison, to your point, something I'm going to talk about, I'm not going to get into it too much today, maybe on Monday, but there's video that's surfacing now. Remember how they had those bombs that they found? I got to be careful saying that word, BOMBs, found at the that day at the Capitol building, one on each side, one on the Republican side, one on the Democrat side. And with all the facial recognition they have, they've never been able to figure out who it was that placed those there. Well, somebody released some new video that I'm still kind of looking into. I'm going to be very careful in posting it, that shows potentially a Fed planting those BOMBs, those kabooms on each side. You see them getting out of a federal vehicle, carrying something and walking over there and placing it in the exact location where they were found. So, you know, there's a lot of propaganda going on, a lot of things going on behind the scenes, and we're all just pawns. You guys know that. So does any of it really matter? Probably not, because they're going to do whatever they want to do. And Robert says, how can the UAW, United Auto Workers Union, sue Elon and Trump over their interview? It's a mad, mad world. It is a mad world because they're upset because Elon said he would work for the Trump administration and they would sit down and negotiate all of this. And they Elon basically said, if you're an auto worker and you want to strike, and I'm sorry, United Auto Workers, but you guys got one hell of a deal that you bargained for, because you literally raped our country on those charges, and including us, because now we have to pay higher prices for vehicles. But he basically said they would all be fired, is the gist of it. The unions have so much control. Robert says the double NAACP president is calling on the DOJ to probe the new Georgia voter portal. MAGA Republicans should not be able to steal any elections, right? Because they only Democrats are allowed to steal elections on video. After the poll, watchers are gone in the middle of the night. No question about it. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. We're going to talk about Alabama. The other day we talked about, which state was it? Was it Louisiana that said that they were going to only use paper ballots? I don't recall right now. There's some stuff going on in Alabama too. And yes, J6 was absolutely planned, Allison. So I want to play this video for you guys, because yesterday, another Secret Service failure. And I'm sorry, ladies. I own a security company. I have a lot of women that work for me, and they do a fantastic job. But the females in the Secret Service, they're giving us all a bad name. There was a female Secret Service agent who was put on her post when Trump was in North Carolina, and she abandoned her post to go breastfeed her child in a room that was meant for emergencies. And she had family members there, not allowed. So I'm going to play this for you guys really quick here.
The Secret Service former President Donald Trump. So this coming from Real Clear Politics, reporting that a female Secret Service agent abandoned her post in North Carolina to breastfeed her baby during Trump's visit yesterday to the Tar Heel state. The report says about 5 minutes before Trump's motorcade arrived, the site agent who manages security for the entire event did a final sweep of the location.
And while walking the route, the site agent reportedly found the Secret Service special agent in question breastfeeding with 2 other family members present in a room that's supposed to be set aside for official business, like an emergency involving the president. The report says the special agent did not have permission to leave her post and gave no warning prior to the event that she needed personal time. Working Secret Service agents are prohibited from bringing children or any family members, for that matter, on a protective assignment.
All right, still working on clarification and details on this, that coming from the reporter for RCP. And it comes about a month after what many consider to be the biggest Secret Service failure in recent American history, the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. For details, national correspondent Alana Austin just got a response from the Secret Service spokesman on this. She joins us live from Capitol Hill with this story. Alana.
Hi, good morning, Sean and Emma. And certainly, as you mentioned there, we're really just weeks out from the attempted assassination on the former president. And we heard from a whistleblower, if you will, a counter sniper, saying he was worried there could be another attack imminently as all of these campaign events, the calendar intensifies here leading up to the November elections. And here's the response I just received from the U.S. Secret Service spokesperson. It is saying all employees of the U.S. Secret Service are held to the highest standards. While there was no impact to the North Carolina event, the specifics of this incident are being examined. Given this is a personnel matter, we are not in a position to comment further. So there were many alarming details of this report that first broke from Real Clear Politics about the family members on site. Of course, just minutes before this event is really supposed to get underway, a Secret Service agent apparently breaking numerous policies and protocols. I've asked the U.S. Secret Service if they could clarify whether all the details of this report are accurate, and at this point in time, we are waiting for further clarification.
How crazy is that, right? Didn't they learn any lesson? What in the world is wrong with this agent? I will never get it. What in the world is wrong with her? Here, she's given a detail, okay, to protect Donald Trump. And she has a post, and trust me, in security, every post is important. All of them are very important. There is no post that is less important than another. You know, you have your perimeter and you have a job to do. You do not leave that job unless you have somebody to fill in for you, to step into your place. I don't care if you're breastfeeding or not. And you know what? I'm sorry to any ladies out there who are, any mothers who are breastfeeding, but we all know that this didn't have to happen. It did not have to happen. This woman could have had a babysitter feed her, breast milk that had already been pumped, if that's what she wanted to do, not to get graphic in the details. Here she has family members there. She has her child there. She's working Secret Service. What in the world is going on? Jay says, clearly they aren't hiring the cream of the crop. No, Robert, unbelievable. Believable behavior is the symptom of an eventual collapse as society and the rules of law, decorum, or just protocol are now suggest. I know, just like the Constitution is just a suggestion. Remember when the Secret Service, man, they were so stern, so stern. You would never approach a Secret Service agent. You had so much respect for them because, man, they were protecting the president or a former president or a candidate for presidency, the highest job in our country. There is no respect anymore. I don't get it. I know so many law enforcement officers who would do such a great job. Allison says DEI. Maybe. I mean, maybe. I used to say no, that they would only hire people who were very qualified, but I'm really starting to think maybe it is DEI because these people, man, what a mess. Are they ever going to learn? Are we going to need another assassination attempt, or maybe a successful one? Or maybe it's planned. Who knows? Maybe all of this is pre-planned. We'll never know. Anyway, one of you mentioned voting a few minutes ago. I know we were talking about the election. I'm kind of all over the place talking about these different topics, and so many to talk about because I still have a lot of things to cover. Trump, we showed his video a minute ago talking about prices, and he's still winning in the polls. They're saying it's only by 2%, 1%, depending on the poll you look at. But that's just propaganda. They've got to say that it's such a close race, because then when Harris wins, the masses who don't look any further than the headlines, they won't be surprised. That's how they pull the wool over their eyes. Oh, well, they were so close all along. Darn it. Trump he was just 1 point ahead, and the voters just came out. So, that's something to think about. And then look at what's going on with the voting around the country. Arizona is such a contested state, as you guys know. And I've told you guys this many times. Arizona, in 2020, they allowed illegals to vote in a federal only ballot. They used a federal only ballot. It's a loophole. But now when it comes to a federal only ballot, you're not supposed to, if a race is really close, or if a candidate wins if they were pushed over to a win because of the federal only ballots, they're supposed to take out the federal only ballots and not count them, and then go by the U.S. citizen votes and who won. But they didn't do that in Arizona. They allowed the federal only ballots to be counted, and that is exactly why Arizona went Democrat. So this time around, a lot of states are saying, no, we're not doing that anymore, Arizona. We're going to hold you guys to the fire, and you are no longer going to allow these federal only ballots. So a number of states here have come out, and they have said exactly that. And they want Arizona to require proof of citizenship for people to vote in the 2024 election. And I think this is interesting because I know a lot of people here who are listening to this show are from Missouri. Well, guess what? Missouri is not amongst these states. And I think if you live in Missouri, you need to reach out to your representatives, to your governor, to your attorney general, and you need to ask them why you are not listed amongst these states. So here are the states that are really pleading with Arizona to make sure that only U.S. citizens vote in the 2024 presidential election. So we have Kansas, West Virginia, Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Iowa, Indiana, Kentucky, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Texas, and Utah. No Missouri. There's no Missouri in there. I knew there wouldn't be in Illinois. Missouri should be part of this list. And if you live in Missouri, I would really be reaching out again to your governor and to your attorney general and finding out why you are not part of this list. Because, it definitely does matter. It does count. Alabama found out, I'm going to play this video for you. Secretary of State Wes Allen in Alabama located that there were thousands of people. They weren't illegals. They were here in the United States legally. However, they are not, if you're not a citizen, you're in some states, you're not allowed to vote. We know it happens. but you know, it's happening. And Robert says, let's see, Margie says, Dana Perino was talking about how everyone gets a job, has to excel at their job. Harris failed, no question. And Harris, by the way, is hiring if you want to work for the Harris campaign. And if you do work for the Harris campaign, you can choose from nine different gender identifiers if you want to work for Harris, by the way. I don't know how they'll ever keep that straight. I didn't even know there was 9. I'd be curious for somebody to point out what 9 there are. Robert, Fox News contributor Andrew McCarthy says, prepare for Trump to be sentenced to prison on September 18th. And then what happens? The Supreme Court intervention on a crime without a victim or any precedent, as this law has never been tried or charged to anyone else. Robert, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. I absolutely believe that Judge Juan Merchan will absolutely sentence him. A lot of people are saying, though, that he will not have to actually report to jail or spend any time in jail because he's going to appeal and they're not going to have him serve time until after the appeal process. But what difference does it make? If they sentence him, they sentence him, right? There are a lot of people who will not vote for Donald Trump if he is facing a jail sentence. They just will not vote for him. And they know that. Democrats know that. No question about it. But, you know, there are small victories. There are small victories taking place. And I want to play this video here by Secretary of State Wes Allen, Alabama, because he is doing his best to make sure that we have only citizen votes in Alabama.
But she's had the flu for.
Well, no, if she got the flu for 14 days, she's as protected as.
I was looking for earlier.
The best vaccination is to get infected yourself.
And
videos today, and then I can't get rid of Fauci. Now where? Okay, I've got this guy here somewhere. Hopefully, this is him.
Secretary of State. 251 people who are here legally in the country but not U.S. citizens have somehow been able to register to vote in Alabama. He's requested the boards of registrars in all 67 counties immediately inactivate those people from their voter files and start the process of removing them. In Mobile County, there's 394. In Baldwin County, there's 143.
If they can prove that they are naturalized citizens, they have to show a valid Alabama driver's license or the last 4 digits of their social security number.
Allen says finding this out wasn't easy. Non-citizen identification numbers are issued by the Department of Homeland Security, but he says the feds wouldn't supply the information.
So we had to go a different route, and it's taken a little while to do that.
Allen says he's turned over his findings to Attorney General Steve Marshall. Today on X, Marshall said, quote, be advised, violations of state election laws will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
But will they? I don't know. In Alabama, yes, they are going to go after these. What about the other states? You know, Pennsylvania is going to be a big problem. Arizona will be a big problem. Michigan will be a big problem. Texas, believe it or not, I love the state of Texas, but Texas has become very radical to some degrees. I love Governor Abbott, but Texas is another state I think we really have to watch. Jay says they will sentence him, let's see here, but he will suspend it. Otherwise, they risk making him an even bigger martyr. I don't know that they care about him being a martyr. I think they want to see him in jail, quite honestly, no matter what. And as you guys could see, I found the Fauci video, so it wasn't the feds. It was just my ineptitude. So sorry about that. But something else I wanted to show you guys. I know I'm going to be short on time here and still so much to talk about, but Harris, who is she hurting the most? Who is the Biden-Harris administration hurting the most? And how does that move forward? Because I really think an administration with Harris walls is going to hurt the Black community even more than what we see Biden-Harris. I really do. You know, because we know that these migrants that are coming in, these illegals that are coming into our country, where are they going? They're settling into the Black communities, aren't they? And who are they displacing? They're displacing people in the Black community. Whose jobs are they taking? They're taking the jobs of the Black community. And this is a fact. You can look it up. It is absolutely the case. People are waking up. No question about it. Margie says, Peggy Hubbard has a solution on SSN and immigrant SSN. Well, I would like to know what that solution is, because we got to do something. We have to do something. And I came across this video of this woman, and I think a lot of us feel her sentiment, because how is it fair? How is it fair that we in this country, we work so hard for everything we have, to raises from work, climbing up the ladder into better positions at work, into opening businesses, buying vehicles, buying your first home. And then these people come into our country illegally. They're not here, constitutionally, they're not here legally, but yet they are getting the loans you should be getting. And this starts out a little bit slow. It's 3 minutes long, but I think it's very important because I think this woman does represent a good portion of the Black community, or all communities who say, why are these people getting what I had to work so hard for? So I want you guys to take a look at this.
I need this message. Our vice president, who's running for president. I have heard all over social media about, excuse me if I say anything wrong, immigrants getting loans, money. It was hard for me to believe. It was just extremely hard for me to believe. I've been in business such a long time. Back in 2019, I purchased my first food truck. It cost me over $25,000. I paid it cash money. I worked hard to pay for this truck. I'm now selling it because I'm doing other things, but I'm selling it. I had a guy come to look at purchasing my vehicle, or my food truck. And he explained to me he's an illegal immigrant. He has no credit. He has no money in the bank. But he showed me his paperwork that he will receive funds to purchase my food truck. I'm thankful that he's buying it, but I'm hurt that I worked so hard to pay cash for my food truck. I have good credit, can't even get a business loan because of the color of my skin. I have veterans in my family. I'm a veteran. I've been self-employed for so long. But somebody, please tell me, how do I work so hard to have somebody who comes to this country, not long, no credit, and he shows me paperwork where they'll be funding him money to buy my food truck? And when I talked to the bank, they told me usually they have to go straight to a dealership because I'm a private sale. But for special circumstances, they're going to, they allow it. But I need my president to tell me why I worked so hard all these years, all these decades. Couldn't get a business loan, but I bust my ass to get the money to create my business. And we got immigrants coming here. And they're getting money. Money! We're doing nothing but just being here. It's not right, and I want answers.
I want answers too. I mean, don't you? It was heartbreaking to watch that video. I mean, I'm almost in tears over it now to know what this woman did and what she had to, I mean, $25,000 in cash that she had to come up with to buy this food truck. And now all of a sudden, someone who is in our country illegally, they're going to go and get a loan with no credit. A lot of times, no identification, no background checks, a lot of times, no job. And they're just going to give them a loan. I mean, and it's happening all across the country. I talked to you guys a few weeks ago or a couple weeks ago about truck drivers here in the United States who are driving trucks illegal in our country illegally. And the government made a deal with them that if they take a job, and it's not just the trucking industry, that was just one example. They take a job. Well, the trucking industry pays them $1,000 a week. That's just the standard pay. Well, then the government kicks in another $1,000. They double their pay. They're not doubling your pay, are they? No, but these people are getting their pay doubled. And then they're promised that their family can come over after 6 months or sometimes 2 years, depending on the contract. And they're also, while they're getting their salary doubled compared to what their coworkers are making, they're also still getting free housing, a cash stipend on top of that, and everything else free. So we've got to be asking what is going on. And something I read yesterday, which really kind of surprised me, by MIT, is that I really wonder if people coming over here illegally know that they're just being used. They're being used for votes, and we all know that. But you know what? They're also being used as in experiments. This was pretty wild, and I haven't heard this on the news yet. I don't know if you guys have. Again, I don't watch the news, but I haven't read it anywhere other than one source that I have. But it says the DHS, they are collecting biometric data from migrant children who cross the border. So people that come over with children, and this is, from infants up, the government is using a facial recognition system, and they are basically using them as an experiment. And they're also using their biometric data, excuse me, to kind of reinvigorate our facial recognition system for children. Okay, this is for children. They're using migrant children, people who are coming over our border illegally, to put them into the facial recognition system to make the system a little bit better. I mean, I wouldn't be okay with that. Would you be? I wouldn't be okay. Pam says, I don't know if this is possible. The trucking regulations are so strict. Well, I can promise you, Pam, it is definitely possible. I can guarantee you that because I have firsthand knowledge. And I talked to someone on both sides of that equation, somebody who is the truck driver and somebody who hired the truck driver. It is absolutely happening. And if you look on the roadways these days, a lot of our truckers are absolutely foreign. Robert says a Mexican illegal here in Michigan is getting $2,000 for housing, $1,000 for food per month. We all saw that receipt not too long ago where somebody had it and they had an EBT balance. It was a Venezuelan for $13,000. That's how much they had in an EBT balance. And I think it was like, what, $5,000 in cash, something like that. People better wake up. And it says, but they are given thousands of dollars of our money free, thousands of dollars per family in SNAP, and I'm not sure what TANF is. Sick over all of this. Man, it is happening. I'm telling you, it's happening. It's crazy. So moving on, I'm going to try to get through some things kind of quickly before we go. Thomas Crooks, he was the shooter, right, in the attempted assassination against Donald Trump. There's been so much speculation going on. There is still so many theories surrounding what took place there. And I was trying to kind of go over it again last night. And I'm going to urge you guys once again to make sure that you research Maxwell Urich and his role. I've talked about him before. I have some information on my Telegram channel about him. It's the Tabs on Tap Telegram channel. But Urich was definitely there that day. It was his white van that they found. He is an explosives expert out of Arizona, which is why everybody reported initially that white van had Arizona license plates. We know who the van belonged to. People have photos and videos of him there. And that says TANF is temporary cash assistance from DSS. Thank you for that, Annette. I had never heard it called that before. So anyway, Thomas Crooks. There's a chain of custody, right, when it comes to the body and how a body is processed and the medical examiner, especially in a big investigation like this. And it was really surprising, but we had Republican Representative Clay Higgins, he's part of the formal investigation into the assassination attempt. And he went to view the body of Thomas Crooks. Well, when he went to go view the body as part of the examination into the assassination attempt, well, guess what? The body was gone. It was gone. And this is a statement from Higgins. He said, my effort to examine Crooks' body on Monday, August 5th, caused quite a stir and revealed a disturbing fact. The FBI released the body for cremation 10 days after January 13th. July 13th. On July 23rd, Crooks was gone. Nobody knew this until Monday, August the 5th, including the county coroner, law enforcement, sheriff, etc. Yes, Butler County coroner technically had legal authority over the body. But I spoke with the coroner, and he would have never released Crooks' body to the family for cremation or burial without specific permission from the FBI. Why would the FBI release Crook's body for cremation prior to the investigation? You know, I've always loved the FBI. I have a lot of friends in the FBI, but I'm trusting them less and less all the time. And now we have the situation with Crooks. Why did they? And of course, cremation. I mean, it wasn't a situation where they could uh, sometimes, pardon the term, dig him back up and process his body for the investigation. He was gone. He was cremated. There was nothing they could do. And I think this is just the first we're hearing of that. I think there's going to be a lot more talk about exactly what happened because the FBI didn't notify law enforcement. They didn't notify the coroner or the medical examiner. No one knew that they released his body. None of that makes any sense, does it? It certainly doesn't make any sense to me. I do not know why they would do that. I don't get it. And to me, it has to be something nefarious, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. It has to be something nefarious. And the FBI, like I said, they've been stepping things up. I talked a few days ago about Scott Ritter, and Scott Ritter is a former UN weapons inspector. He is a very outspoken podcaster. You can look at his Telegram channel under Scott Ritter. And I just came across it last night, by the way. I finally searched him out. His house was raided by the FBI. Well, now we have another guy. Gosh, this guy, and I know you guys know who this guy is. You might have to jar your memory a little bit, but I know you know this guy. Remember the Center for National Interest? You have to remember that name. As soon as I heard it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that really rang a bell for me. 76 years old, Dmitry Simes. He is an American Russian. He's been living in Moscow, kind of almost in hiding because, of course, the government coming after him for his beliefs. And he was the first person to actually interview Donald Trump back in 2016 on foreign policy. Now, he was also an advisor for both former presidents Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan back in the day. Well, this week, the FBI raided Dmitry Simes' home in Virginia. Now, again, as of right now, he's a Russian-American, political analyst. He has a show. He has a magazine. He still has his magazine in D.C. called the Center for National Interest. And he claims, or he believes, that the FBI raided his home because he has been talking very publicly about what's happening in Russia right now. Because as we know, Ukraine is they're into Belgorod now overnight. They attacked Belgorod. Allegedly, they are killing civilians. There was a story in a video that I watched. I shared it on Telegram. Can't play it here. Very graphic, where a man is returning back to his home near Belgorod, but he's in the Kursk region, just a little bit outside of Belgorod. And he finds his wife and his children alive, and he's surprised because he's seeing all these people laying in the streets dead, sitting in their vehicles dead. And he tries to rescue his family. And of course, the Ukrainian troops are shooting at him. Well, Dmitry Simes made it very clear recently that, and I talked about a little bit about this yesterday, that it's not Ukraine, it's NATO. NATO is knee deep in the middle of Russia right now. According to many sources, not just Simes, many sources say that it's NATO. Fronted by Ukraine, but it's NATO. These are, I want to make sure I get the list right. These are American troops, Ukrainian troops, Polish troops, French troops, British troops, all 400, 500 miles into Russia. It's a suicide mission because Russia today and yesterday, they are decimating these troops. I saw the videos. I've shared the videos on Telegram, decimating these troops. And it's really, it's so hard to talk about because I don't care what side of the fence you're on. You don't want people to lose their lives, civilians, not even the troops, even these troops, even though we feel like they're in the wrong, they have families at home. They have mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters, and many of them have children. And I don't want to see any of them lose their lives. And we're all just pawns, like I've said many times, in this big game of war, aren't we? And, things continue to escalate, even though right now things with Iran are quiet. And Hamas made a statement yesterday that the world is lying, that they never said they didn't want to participate in the peace talks in Qatar. They said that's just the government lying, our government lying, that in fact they are interested in peace. And then we have Russia who came out and said, you know what? Putin said, I've had enough of all of this. I've had enough of all of this. You know, we stop here. The United States is behind all of this aggression into Russia. They're blaming us for everything. They're blaming us for the Nord Stream pipeline. We hadn't even talked about that in a while. Germany blaming us. Russia blaming us. Belarus are jumping into the mix, talking about nuclear weapons. Now, Belarus tends to get a little theatrical. So if you see those comments by Belarus talking about how Ukraine's about to invade their border or they're readying their nuclear weapons, they've made that statement many times. I don't take a whole lot into that, but there's certainly a lot of talk going on with Nord Stream. I don't think that's going to end. Germany said they've got a target on Zelensky's head, an arrest warrant for Zelensky and for the Nord Stream pipeline. We all know what happened there. Of course, the United States, we try to blame it on literally everyone but us under the Biden regime. So, man, you got to be careful because these days, you know, you talk out and the FBI is coming to your home and they're coming after you. The IRS, we know Obama. What did he do? If you, even regular citizens, if you went against Obama, he had the IRS come check you out. That is a fact. I'm not making that up. You can look it up. It is a fact. And now it's the FBI. How did they weaponize the FBI against citizens? I don't get it. You know, and I kid you not, it could happen to any of us. You have to be careful. It's a really scary situation that we're in right now. In Russia, the situation in Russia with NATO being, you know, knee deep in Russia, it's a very scary thing for all of us. We're already worried about Iran and what's taking place with Iran potentially attacking Israel. And now we've got to worry about NATO being in Russia, killing Russian citizens. And I know there's a lot of propaganda. It's hard to weed through what's right and what's not right, but there's video. You know, these days things are different. You can see it with your own eyes. You're not going to see it on Facebook or some of these other pages. Go on to Telegram, go on to X. You can watch these videos. And I'm so sorry to say that I have seen so many awful videos, you know, people being murdered in the streets, but it's there. These days there's videos everywhere. People have drones. You can see it all with your own eyes. And it's really sad. And it's really heartbreaking to know. You know, I watched a video this morning of two men who were in Russia, who were in a home, and allegedly these were two Ukrainian men who lived in Russia, and they were trying to get help. And a Russian drone gave them a bottle of water and a note that said, "We're going to come and help you. You know, hang tight." And then they said, "Well, you know, if you can walk and make it to here, you know, we'll help you." Well, then these Ukrainian troops came by. They bombed the house. And these two men were in the street and you could see them laying there. I'm not going to get into the details. I'm getting carried away, but man, it was so sad to see. It made me sick. And I don't know what's going to happen next. You know, Russia's getting upset. China is getting into the mix. You know, the Chinese president Xi, he has said enough. He said that the people of Palestine is what he called it. They have every right to their own free country. They have every right to safety. And both Russia and China together have come out and said that they want this situation between Israel and Gaza to stop and Hamas to stop. And they both fully expect that the Palestinians will have their own states. That's what they're, you know, hoping for, and that's what they're having talks on. So there's a lot to think about when it comes to that. There's a lot going on that we need to worry about. And I was going to talk about climate change. I don't know if we have time. Maybe I'll throw it in as the last minute before I get on to some other things. You know, the weekend's coming up. Again, thank God it's Friday. I don't know what's going to happen over the weekend. I have a feeling we're going to have a lot to talk about on Monday. But, you know, I am going to play this video on climate change just because I have it. And I told people I was going to talk about it. We know it's another money-making scam in this country, just another way our country is trying to pressure us. And the reason why I'm saying this is I read a report the other day. I talked about it a little bit here. And they were talking about how we're expecting to have these 100% humidity heat waves that could potentially, of course, keep people from voting in some of the hottest states. You know, they mentioned Albuquerque in particular in these different places. And so I wanted to kind of talk about this. Jay says Palestinians will never be satisfied. Israel gives them the entire region. Will any of them be satisfied, Jay? Quite honestly, I am pro-Israel, but will any of them be satisfied? And it's not just them, it's people all across the world, particularly. That's why we don't have peace in the Middle East, because no one's ever satisfied, are they? Because when you have two opposing groups that want to kill each other, it doesn't matter what kind of peace agreement we come up with, there's never going to be peace. It's unfortunate, but I don't see peace taking place anytime soon. And I'm trying not to choose sides, because I'm on the human side. The humans, we all deserve to live in peace, and that includes, of course, Israelis. All right, so we're going to talk about climate change very quick. Then you know what? I'm going to show you guys very quickly how to order vanilla and make your own vanilla paste, vanilla sugar, or vanilla extract. Big switch of topic.
The climate right now is no warming throughout history. Our baseline is now the lowest that carbon dioxide has been in 600 million years. As far as temperature change, the IPCC's first report of 1992 showed that the medieval warm period was warmer than the present. Well, this didn't fit the narrative, so by the time the 1996 report came out, it was a completely contrived graph called the hockey stick. So what they did was they got rid of the medieval warm period and the Little Ice Age, and so instead of the graph doing this, they flattened it out, and then they added instrumental record on the end that looks like it's going way up. The point is that the people that are calling them out on it are not getting the media coverage. Because look, at this point there's billions of dollars going into the whole climate change narrative.
All right. How I don't think you're hearing anything there most of you don't already know. We already don't believe. That's Randall Carlson. He has been studying climate change for 40 years. He is one of the researchers that's not paid by the government. And people we need to listen to. Again, that's an old video, but it doesn't matter if that video took place 100 years ago or 1,000 years from today. History tells us everything we need to know about climate change. It's cyclical. The earth warms and then it cools. It warms and it cools. Where I am standing right now here at my home at one time was a glacier. It was a glacier, and it's no longer a glacier, but that doesn't mean that we are in some crazy global warming, because someday this area will freeze over again. It will freeze over again, and then it will warm back up. But we have, Margie mentioned China. China pumps out manufacturing that blows hot air. I think it's China. I'll have to go back and look. I believe it's China. And thank you, Kevin, for my patriotic shirt. Loving my patriotic shirt. So China has drones now. Have you guys seen this? They have drones that can change the climate in the blink of an eye. Cloud seeding drones. When are we going to say that this is warfare, really? Because I think you and I both know that another country can change the economic impact of another country based on cloud seeding, based on manipulation of the weather. Because if you create a drought in one area, you're going to cause a flood in another area, right? Look at what happened in the United Arab Emirates. They seriously grew a rainforest in the desert for tourists, where they have a beautiful tropical rainforest now because of cloud seeding. Well, guess what happened? That caused their neighbors to have a drought, because in the earth, there's only so much water on our planet. And at any given time, that water is either in a status of being condensed or liquid, or and what ends up happening, we only have that one body of water. You can tell it's Friday, I can't talk. Not that I can talk better on other days. And what happens, you manipulate that, and you have condensation here, you have flooding there, you have drought here. It is warfare. I wish they would call it that. Economic warfare. You can destroy another country by manipulating their weather or your weather. It is seriously that easy. And it's something we all need to look into. But don't listen. When you hear all this ridiculous stuff that we're getting ready to have these 100% humidity heat waves are going to kill people, and God forbid you can't get out to the polls because you're going to die from the humidity. Don't listen to any of that nonsense. Or even talking about Albuquerque at some point being completely uninhabitable. It's all ridiculous. Jay says the Middle East at one time was a tropical rainforest. Every part of our world at one point was something completely different because our weather is cyclical. Like I said, where I'm standing right now used to be a glacier. Now it's beautiful land and I have beautiful natural springs because at one time it was a glacier. Maybe it'll be a glacier again someday. Who knows? And Jay, 10,000, most of Illinois was 10,000, I'm guessing years ago, most of Illinois was under 1 to 2 miles of ice. Yes, where I'm standing right now. And Jay, when they say 100% humidity, they're not talking about rain. They're talking about humidity to the point where your body cannot sweat. And they claim that if your body cannot sweat because of this 100-degree, because of this weather with 100% humidity, I just need to give up for the day, then you cannot sweat and it will kill you. Because if your body cannot sweat, you overheat. And that's what they talked about. I talked about it a couple days ago or a couple weeks ago about exactly that. So Margie says, don't mess with Mother Nature. Don't mess with Mother Nature. Do not. But again, that's why we have to prepare. You know, I talked to you guys earlier about chickens. And if you guys weren't here with us, I want to show you. I have 3 sizes of eggs for my little chickens because self-sufficiency. Small, medium, large, 6 chickens, 3 different kinds of eggs. And again, if situations get crazy and you don't want to deal with all this 100% humidity or all of their lies and propaganda or the civil war that's definitely coming to this country, it's coming. You know what? Do something for yourself. There are ways you can propel yourself. You can become self-sustaining. You can. All of these things that are going on, you know, you can go out and talk to Colonel Joe Adams at the Washington Guard. You know, I believe patriots@washingtonguard.com is where you can email to get information. They're going to have a meeting tomorrow. So if you're interested in attending the Washington Guard meeting, you can do that tomorrow on Saturday at patriots@washingtonguard.com. Reach out to Colonel Joe Adams. But in the meantime, start thinking of ways you yourself can be self-sufficient. I'm going to go through this quickly because my time is running out. I've only got about 5 minutes left before my show ends. They give me about 2 hours, and that's about it. Vanilla. I've talked to you guys before about vanilla, and I'm talking about it again because I just ordered some new vanilla beans because I thought, you know, I made 2 bottles of this. But somewhere down the line, if I want to sell vanilla, let's say, and something I'm very seriously thinking about doing is next spring opening my own little store right here at my house. You can do it. A lot of people are doing it. And where I'll sell eggs and plants. I'm not so good at making vegetables, but man, I'm really great at growing vegetable plants. Maybe fruit. I've got a lot of fruit trees growing. But you know, vanilla is something really great that you can make yourself at home, and you can sell this online. You can sell it in your community, farmers markets, and it's so easy to do. Now, this has to sit in this jar that you can see the vanilla beans in there, maybe not on the camera. This has to sit, if you really want it to be good, for about a year. It's not easy, so start now. I order my beans from Vanilla Bean Kings. Now, there's plenty of people you can order it from. I get mine from Vanilla Bean Kings. Now, I don't want to open this up. This is 6 ounces of vanilla vanilla beans because I'm not ready yet to make my vanilla. So you don't want to open up your package until you get it. Now, I just ordered these 3 days ago, and I already received my package yesterday. And that is 6 ounces of vanilla beans. Now, when I get to the point where I open that up, I will show you what they look like on the inside. And it's very easy to do. And as a matter of fact, Vanilla Bean Kings, they will send out this little magnet here, and it will give you the measurements of what you need to do. So for me, I do what they call double fold. Now you can make a single fold vanilla, and it's not going to be quite as strong. If you were going to be making a single fold vanilla, you could order, let's see here, 4 ounces. For you to get 32 ounces of vanilla, you would want to, let's see here, get about 4 ounces of beans and 3 ounces of liquor. That's the standard. Now for me, I'm going to have 32 ounces. I'm doing double fold. So I have just a little over 6 ounces of vanilla beans. And you take your vanilla beans out of the package, you cut the tips off, and then I take my tips and I put them in I put them in sugar, just regular sugar, granulated sugar. You can use any kind of sugar you want. And I put the tips in there, then I seal it up and I let it sit and shake it every once in a while. And that makes some really fantastic vanilla sugar, which you can use in recipes. I put it in pancakes, pancake mix, and different things. But then you take your vanilla beans, you slice them in half. You can choose to scrape them. You don't have to. You throw them in your jar. I did scrape mine. You guys can't see it from here. But when I shake this up, you can see all of the little tidbits of vanilla in here, little bitty vanilla grains. And this stuff is going to be so good when it's ready. It's getting there. It's almost ready. And then what you can do is you pour your liquor. I have one that's bourbon and I have one that is a dark rum. So you pour your alcohol in here with your vanilla beans. And here there's about 3 ounces, and I have another bottle about 3 ounces of vanilla beans. This time around, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to get 2 different types. I use Madagascar vanilla beans. You can use any kind you want. But eventually I will take this and I will put this into 1 ounce, 2 ounce, and 3 ounce jars, and I'll sell it. I'll have my own labels. I will sell this. Now, Vanilla Bean King, they will give you a label that would fit a big bottle like this, which I'm probably going to have to label these because I've already forgotten exactly when I made them, because that's how my mind works. I forget. But anyway, go to, it's vanillabeanking.com, and you can order your own vanilla beans. They're one of the best there is. They're not a sponsor or anything like that. These people have no clue who I am. But I have ordered from them twice now, and I'm going to continue making vanilla. And someday I do hope to open my own little store here at my house. And any of you are welcome to come out when I do that, probably sometime in the spring. And I'm going to be selling vanilla and maybe some little jams and jellies and other things that I make. And as you guys know, I created that Facebook group called Tabs on Tap Facebook group. And I'm going to be sharing some recipes there. So we can all make our own little jams and jellies and syrups and different things. And you don't have to have a lot of money to do all this. And Donna says, how do you find time for all of the garden prepping? Man, Donna, I don't have time. I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I go to bed at midnight. I'm running around like a maniac, but that's what you have to do, isn't it? These days, it's what you have to do. And so for 6 ounces of vanilla beans, it was about $49, I think is what it paid. So it's not cheap. But when you pour this into little 1 ounce jars, you can sell them, I've heard, for as much as $12, $15, because it is homemade. There's no chemicals, no poisons. It's very tasty because you've made it with your different types of liquors. There's so many different things you can do. So I'm going to be sharing a lot of recipes on there, a lot of things I'm working on. I'm not going to be selling sourdough bread, by the way, because I don't have the faintest clue how to make sourdough bread, and I'm not very good at baking bread. So that's probably not going to be me. But you know what? There's nothing wrong with you going out and doing your best. I'm really bad at gardening. I've learned, and I have some really good zucchinis and squashes and different things growing right now. But my green beans were bad. Like I said earlier, I planted so many green beans because I love green beans. I could eat them every day. But I had like 6 little shriveled up green beans that grew out of my many plants. I don't know what I did wrong. My little peppers, as I showed you guys earlier, if you were watching earlier, I have the tiniest little peppers. They are so cute, but they're very tiny. And so I don't know what I did wrong there either. I have no idea. But I will tell you one thing I did really good is I did really good at growing my plants. And I have had some really good tomatoes. And now my garden, 100% heirloom. All of my seeds are heirloom. I didn't use any chemicals. I didn't use any sprays. I did nothing. Now, on some of my plants, I did have some little, I don't know what they were, little caterpillar looking things, on some of my stuff. And you know what? I went out and I removed them by hand, but still 100% organic. I used nothing. And it really isn't that hard. It's a matter of taking time to get out and weed. There's a lot that needs to be done, but we're going to talk a lot more about gardening on this show, a lot more about being self-sufficient, because it's the way of the world, isn't it right now? Your backyard is your grocery store, and that's how it should be. And you'll see so many people now are popping up with these little carts that they have at home, or kind of a help yourself, based on the honor system carts, where you can buy vegetables and fresh eggs and jams and jellies and syrups, and it doesn't cost a lot of money to do all of this. A lot of people right now, this is going to be happening soon, and you can do this at any park near you. I've never heard of anyone being stopped at a park and told not to do it. Is you can go, and this sounds crazy, but you can tap a hickory tree, find a pecan tree or a shellbark tree or a black walnut tree. Those are especially good. You can actually go on Amazon, or, not that I want to tout Amazon, and buy this little tapper, and you put it into the tree and you can get syrup from these trees totally free. Come home, boil it, process it, and you can put it in small jars and sell your own pecan syrup or black walnut syrup. There's so many different things you can do. So we're going to be talking more as the show goes on about those types of tips and things you can do to be more self-sufficient. Because you know what? If you're not happy with what your government is doing, if you're not happy with your local leadership, the more you need to become more self-sufficient. And you know what? Because you can always rely on yourself, right? That's my motto. I can always rely on myself, even if everything around me is absolute chaos. And thank you, Donna. I have like a whole bunch of these patriotic shirts. And at some point, you're not going to be too surprised by this. I'm going to be selling these shirts because I have my own little online store, and I'm going to have my own little shop set up at the house, and I'm going to have all kinds of things set up. So that's something we'll be talking about much later because I'm nowhere near being ready for that. I haven't even had time to change my background. So that tells you what my timeline is. And Monica says, I made maple syrup last year. It is. You can. Donna says, it's much healthier too. Everything is grown in your area. That's good for allergies. I don't have bees, but I would love to have my own beehives outside. I would love to have my own honey. I have a lot of aspirations and things I would like to do, just like all of us. So maybe we'll do them all together and kind of jump into some different things. It's all new for me. If you would have asked me 2 years ago, would I be growing this gigantic garden? Would I be making my own vanilla? No, I wouldn't have the faintest clue. So that's a lot of us. I think we're busy. We got stuff going on, but you know what? When things are crazy, you have to rely on yourself. That's all you have. Anyway, so Monica says, I have bees too. Monica, I'm so jealous. You're going to have to talk to me about that because I want my own bees. I want to get a flow hive, but we'll talk about that, Monica. Maybe you can come on the show and talk to us about bees. So if any of you guys have tips, if any of you, want to talk to be a guest and talk about canning or gardening or any of those things, I would love to hear from you, beekeeping. But outside of that, my time is up. I got to go. But I hope all of you have a really great Friday. If you like the show, share the show. We've got to spread the truth somehow, some way. You're not going to get in trouble for sharing my show, believe it or not, despite how crazy social media is. My profile on Facebook is still recommendable. So it's not going to give you any kind of crazy warning if you do share it. So if you like the show, share the show. Be sure to tell your neighbors to tune in. If you have any guests, anything you want to talk about, be sure to text message me at 314-546-2677. That is the show line. I hope all of you have a really fantastic Friday. If you know me, I'll be posting all current news that's taking place over the weekend on my personal pages. I hope to see you all on Monday. Have a great Friday.